So mom and dad had each been married before. And my dad from his first marriage had a daughter, and my mom from her first marriage had a daughter and a son. So when they got married, it was really his, mine, and ours. So we had the whole combo going on. My sister from my dad's first marriage is significantly older. In fact, her daughter is a few months older than I am. So even though I'm her aunt, theoretically, we're really like sisters in many ways. And I love and adore her, as I do my sister Nancy too. And there was such a big gap. And I mean, really, my parents were like so interesting. And dad had I don't know, maybe some of you know this, but dad had this whole part of his life that was like when he met my mom, he was under an assumed name. And he was a very colorful guy who had a very interesting, I guess we would say, dysfunctional family. And he just struggled with so many things, but he was so charismatic and handsome. And he was a character. We'll talk about him later. Mom had these two kids from her first marriage, and she talked about it. They're both deceased. And she used to talk about it as, I married the football quarterback, and, we had this marriage. We were great together in one way, but we just were really young. And it wasn't like it was acrimonious. It was just, we really weren't the right people for each other. We got married straight out of school. And so she divorced with two young children, which really back in that time was very unusual. And so I admired her for knowing that it wasn't the right thing. And she and her two little ones moved to my grandparents' house. And my sister Melanie would talk about just how much she loved it. And it was such a nice thing to see that it was about the family and being there with her grandparents and that family all together. And they had such an idyllic few years there before my mom married my dad. And my sister Heidi and I were born. And then it started being the whole mix. And Nancy had already started her own family, so she wasn't really in the day-to-day mix like that. It was integrating that part of his life differently. But Melanie and Chris definitely were. And honestly, Chris and my dad did not get along. So I think some of my well-honed skills in healing and reconciliation started probably from the time I was born as that child observer, not really understanding the conflict, but certainly wanting everybody to just get along with each other and love each other. And why can't we all just be one big happy family? But it was complicated. And I think that, it's a very big part of my story, really, because my dad and Chris had so many conflicts over the years. At some stage, Chris went to go live with some other relatives in the family, and all of it was because the two of them really couldn't communicate very well. I think that, to really kind of project into the future, at the end of my dad's life, he realized, his own immaturity, and he realized he'd made a lot of mistakes. And I think at that point, it was just so important for us all as a family to recognize that even when we're, thinking it's the right thing at the time, sometimes we look back with regrets. And he certainly had regrets.